We've done every page of the Kama Sutra and it is not even noon.
Don't you ever wonder if there's more to life than fucking in luxury all day?
Let's do that thing from the Chinese manual.
That trick with the silk cord. You said it really hurt.
Well, at least I felt something.
Well then.
No, forget it. I want something new. Surely someone somewhere on this planet is performing sexual practices as yet unknown to us. Siberia, perhaps, or North Africa.
You could instruct the Privy Council to send out explorers.
Good idea. I'll tell them at the next meeting.
Which is, in fact, this afternoon.
Is it?
We've got to go.
Do we?
It's called Duty Ludwig. We attend the appropriate meetings and councils in the appropriately regal and solemn way, in the appropriately regal and solemn clothes, sign edicts, hear petitions, and so on and so on. And in return, we provide stability and order and the respect of our government and people. And they leave us alone the rest of the time to do whatever we want.
But it's so boring.
I suppose you'd rather be a peasant, would you? Squelching around in mud all year and being a swineherd in the next village because he's rumoured to have a chimney. I think if you kept things in some kind of perspective, you'd be able to...
Perspective! Here she goes again. I suppose next you'll be saying relative. Well, I deal in absolutes. I'm an absolute monarch after all.
That's rather good.
Perhaps I could become a writer of epigrams renowned across the planet for my unique wit and perspicacity. No, I can't think of any more. A revolution. That would be exciting. Lots of peasants running about the palace, screaming for our blood! Us running in terror, disguised. Me dressed as one of my mistresses, perhaps. The peasants are about to catch us, when luckily they stop to stare in amazement at all the chimneys. And we seize our chance to reach the secret passage. At a river we board a humble fishing boat and slip away into exile with a few meagre possessions, watching the palace burn in the night. The screams of our soldiers and the friends we left behind, ringing in our ears as the raging mob hacks them to pieces. Sweaty ploughmen and blacksmiths having their way with your ladies in waiting. The finest and most cultivated of our courtiers, roasting in agony on huge bonfires. Bonfires made from our tapestries and furniture. The screams, the blood, the horror. Well, it would make a change.
We should get ready. We have church in an hour. Your authority rests on God's blessing. I was talking to the merchants who brought these silks.
Oh, yes, I've heard you gabbling away in that bizarre tongue of theirs. Just, wow, good chow.
Anyway.
Where on earth did you find the time to learn it?
Anyway, the Chinese believe in a thing called the mandate of heaven.
Oh, good. You're going to lecture me. I had hoped for a blowjob or a beating. Anything that stopped me thinking.
They believe the emperor is appointed by the gods.
And so do I. Very interesting. Now rub me with oil.
But if the emperor does not do his part and act in accordance with the will of the heavens, they will turn against him and the empire will fall. That's why they study astronomy so deeply.
And that's why you now have a telescope on the roof, is it?
Well, you never know. Besides, it's fascinating. The movement of constellations and planets, predicting an eclipse or a comet.
You're weird, you know that. Looking at the stars and doing all those calculations like some man.
Just because I don't have a penis does not mean I can't use a pen or a fist. If you like the idea of large-scale violence and destruction, perhaps we should visit the siege at Munster for a few days. Munster. Your armies are besieging the city of Munster to save the souls of heretics. and take control of their prosperous silk industry.
Silk? Oh, I love silk.
A visit would boost their morale, and we would look brave and inspiring. And I'm sure if you request it, they could lay on a bit of impaling, burn down a village or two, just to see if you really like it.
I could wear my new boots and winter frock coat.
Yes, it will be an adventure.
Something new.
Yes.
I'll ride a white horse. The men will cheer me and throw their hats in the air. I could give out medals and bravely hold back my tears when I meet the wounded. I give them special medals just for being wounded. I could teach the men how to cook potatoes. It's going to be a real adventure.
We can announce it at the council meeting this afternoon.
Yes! And let's tell Countess von Mecklenburg that when we come back from Munster, we shall have a concert to celebrate our victory.
Something spectacular.
Music the like of which has never been heard before.
Good. Now get up.
And I shall wear silk to the concert. Silk seized from the dissolute heretics of Munster to celebrate our glorious power.
Get up.
All right, I'm getting dressed. That really hurt. Another thing you learnt from the Chinese, I suppose.
They call it gong fu. Always handy to know a little self-defense.
How long have we been besieging Munster?
About 6 months. My charts tell me early next week would be auspicious for a new offensive.
We'll leave this evening. Tell Maria to schedule the concert for next Wednesday.
That's very short notice to find a unique artistic experience of an entirely new nature.
Maria will manage. Always so keen to impress and climb a rung or two up the ladder. And besides, what's the point in being a prince if you can't be capricious and impossibly demanding? Especially in the name of art.
I shall order them to get the horses ready.
Yes. And in the meantime, perhaps we can play a few games. Something to make it a little bit kinky. I know, let's pretend we're half brother and sister.
We are half brother and sister.
Oh yes. We get married. That would be kinky.
Stop it.
They could make a statue out of me, leading the troops on a horse.
Yes. Yes, come on.
Oh, the wounded I present the medals to at the siege. Remind me to tell the generals to make sure they're not, you know, too badly wounded.
We stand on a hill overlooking the besieged city of Munster.
I'm looking fabulous in my new watching my army from the top of a hill uniform.
Our armies are spread out below us on the plain. Medieval artillery, another gift from the Chinese, pounds the city walls.
Boom! Bang! Wow. Lorelei, did you see that? 4 men got blown straight out of that tower. Bits of them all over the place.
It's so cold.
One of them was on fire. All the way to the ground.
All this killing, it's making me horny. Can't we just go back to their
How can you think of sex at a time like this? Look at those cannonballs hitting the city wall! Boom! Crash! Scream! Oh, it's all so primal.
It's very noisy.
The sheer, visceral thrill of it all. Thousands of men exposed to the elements, living in trenches and tents, experiencing hunger, boredom, imminent death. And all because they love me.
We need to leave for Bremen first thing tomorrow. Remember, the victory concert is on Wednesday.
Concerts are all very well, but it will take something very special to beat this for artistic experience. Oh, don't you see the explosions and the fighting and the flames? Everything chained together in a gorgeous orgy of reality stripped bare. Human experience reduced to its essence, to its basic questions and concerns. Life, death, fear! I've never realised that war is performance art, an immersive event which makes everyone involved more critically aware of the world and their place within it.
Please, let's go back to the castle.
Oh, listen to those screams! That sound is the wisdom of suffering, the cruel absurdity of existence, distilled to an anguished exhalation.
Wouldn't you Rather listen to my screams.
Yes, very good. But don't you see the beauty of all these thousands of soldiers on both sides, all coming together to create this beautiful, terrible dance?
I want to go home!
Home? My place is here, with my men. Send my tailors. I must be fitted out with a new Commander-in-Chief's uniform for leading a victorious charge personally, without delay, and a more formal accepting the enemy's surrender uniform. Bright colours.
But we...
Oh, my hand.
What?
My hand. I'm wounded. I'm wounded.
That tiny scratch?
Scratch? I'm lucky to be alive. Quickly, send for my personal surgeon.
Your personal surgeon is in Gráinne.
Is he? Then, Raymond, we must return. Just as soon as I have awarded myself a wounded veteran's medal. Don't just stand there! Arrange a ceremony! And a statue! I'm just back from besieging and taking, thank you, the city of Munster. And I understand warfare now in all its terrible beauty. And in the future, we are going to protect ourselves by inspiring awe in our enemies, as every state must, but not through killing and destruction, through art.
What the prince means...
You create great art, everybody looks at you, goes, hey, let's not invade that country, let's protect it. Leave them to get on with their thing, you know, creating great art for all of us.
I see some perplexed and nervous faces. What His Majesty means is that soft power should not be ignored, but that military forces will always be needed, and that is the way forward.
Maybe, but the army will be under command of my arts ministry.
You can see the general staff looking a little nervous there.
Let us amaze the world with our artistic prowess, so that every nation will seek to be our ally.
Well, that is the ideal. Of course, we're not so naive as to think
War, a thing of the past.
Except, of course, with the countries we really have to fight.
But all warfare will be conducted artistically, with a high consideration to aesthetics. It's not just about results.
Yes, it is! Perhaps our musicians would like to do an encore, and we can talk about this later.
While assisting his poets' brigade in chanting their vicious satirical verses at the invaders, the prince was captured, and despite being splendidly clad in his new repelling the Mongol hordes uniform, was impaled high on a stake in a city square, backlit by moonlight and flames. To his relief, he managed to summon the palace sculptor to make preliminary sketches of a new monumental statue of the event. Taking strength from the excitement of it all, he signed autographs for grieving subjects until the moment he expired, cackling uncontrollably. And our life is just one big cruel joke.
The princess calmly donned her finest robes, and at dawn met the invaders at the citadel gates, then warned them that if they did not do her bidding, she would make the sun disappear. They laughed, but were struck silent when the first warrior who tried to cut her down, she disarmed effortlessly and threw to the ground. Then the eclipse, whose commencement she had calculated to the second, began. Awestruck, the entire army knelt before her,